And today we are going to discuss about the trajectory transfer. Why we are doing this, not continuing with the three body dynamics. The reason is very simple that whatever the Kepler's equation, other things we have studied, those equations we have developed. So all this can be used in trajectory transfer, finding out time and various things. So we first do this and thereafter we will go to the three body dynamics. The trajectory transfer, it's a basically the change of the orbit, because whenever we are discussing about the trajectory transfer, means the satellite path. Trajectory means satellite path. So, say in the case of in the case of Earth satellite, so we take this plane as the inertial plane XYZ. Equatorial plane of the Earth will be inclined to this by certain angle. Your satellite, while say in the case of the India, we'll take it like this. Somewhere Sriharikota is located here. And a geostationary satellite has to be launched for communication purpose. For communication purpose. Now, once the satellite is launched from this place, it cannot be placed along this direction, isn't it? We cannot launch along this direction. This is not possible. As you can see that if it is so, at any point the gravitational force will act here in this direction. So this will have a component along this direction and perpendicular to this direction. So this is something like we have this arc, and somewhere I have shown the Sriharikota is lying here. The gravitational force will act here in this direction, and this will have two components. So your satellite cannot move in this orbit. It's not possible. And this is your say one of the meridian. So at certain locations Sriharikota is lying, and this is the position of the Sriharikota station from where the rocket is to be launched. The rocket cannot be launched along this direction. It's not possible for the reason explained here. Now, so what to do here in this case? The satellite can be put in the orbit along certain direction, like if this is Sriharikota station, this is the Sriharikota station shown by green. Along this direction we can launch. This is possible, which will constitute the polar orbit. Polar orbit in the inertial plane, not with respect to the Earth, because equatorial plane of the Earth is inclined to the inertial plane. You can also put along this direction. So the orbit of the plane should be such that it passes through the center of the Earth. So that way, suppose this is the station, then I can choose this orbit. This is possible. So this is your inclined orbit, and how much this inclination will be depending on the location of your station here. So this is the inclination of the orbit I. Okay, if you are launching in the polar orbit, which I have shown here by the green one, so in this case I becomes 90 degrees. So the minimum inclination here of the orbit is I. And this is matching with the latitude of the ground station from where you are launching the satellite. So this part is possible. Now, if you want to launch from this place in this orbit, this is not possible. Okay. For very simple reason, because your ground station is lying here. You cannot do this. So depending on the latitude of the point, the angle of minimum angle of inclination of the orbit is decided. But we are looking for geostationary orbit. If the Earth equatorial plane is inclined to say some 1 degree or 2 degree to the inertial plane. This is the Earth equatorial plane inclination. We will write it as the IE. So 1 degree, 2 degree this inclination is at any time, suppose. Okay, so that means whenever we are launching and we have to put the satellite in the Earth equatorial orbit to be a geostationary satellite, the requirement will be that this trajectory, what we have shown here, this must be changed from this place finally to this place. So initially you are launching in this orbit, which will appear something like this around the Earth. So this is the inclination of the orbit. This is a projection downward. Okay, as we have done in the case of where I have shown the argument of perihelion on the other end. This is not on this. Not here. This is downward this plane is inclined. Already I have shown here. This is your I. So your equator may be a little bit inclined to this, maybe by 1 degree or 2 degree. So finally you have to bring this orbit to this place. So how to do that? This is the question. So for doing this, you need to give impulse at a particular point. Say here in this case, what we call as the node of the orbit. Let me go to the next page. So this is your ascending node and this is descending node. So if I want to change the inclination of the orbit, which is right now say I0, I want to change it to some other value. Let us say to this one, where this I becomes I1. So I1 minus I is 0, this is delta I, this is to be done. So where to give the impulse? So we can give impulse at this point at the node. Initial velocity is along this direction and we give an impulse at this point such that the final velocity is along this direction. So this is V1, this is V0 and this part then becomes delta V. Very simple. So this is one impulse transfer. So orbit inclination will just change, nothing else will change. If you give this delta V here, the way I have shown here. This V1 magnitude is equal to V0 magnitude. Or we can show it like the Euclidean norm. So similarly, other parameters of the orbit, they can be changed. So it's possible that if we have the orbit here, This angle is capital omega. So I do not want to change either I do not want to change the argument of kdt. I do not want to change A, I do not want to change P, I just want to change capital omega. So this is also possible. So that means your orbit has to rotate something like this. Right now here it is in this position. So this should be moved to some other position. So your orbit will look like this. So this is going on the back side without changing the inclination of the orbit. All these are constants, only this part is going to change. So mathematically this can be computed. So the transfer of orbit, it's a required, as you see, you saw it on the previous page, that it becomes mandatory if you are not located on the equator. If your ground station from where you are launching, if it is not located on the equator, then it's not possible to put in the geostationary orbit. So obviously the orbit maneuver is required. But from here we can do it if we can launch in the polar orbit. So polar orbit launching, or maybe your other inclined orbit. So whichever the orbit, one thing you should remember, that orbit should pass through the center of the Earth, so that we do not have the component of gravitational force perturbing the orbit. We cannot expect that Earth is here, Earth is something like this, and one orbit I can place in here, because this gravitational force will be acting here in this direction. So one component is providing here, this component is downward. So this is not possible. So this kind of orbit is not feasible. So we should have the orbit something like this, or whatever it is, it should always pass, the plane should always pass through the center of gravity. Okay, so looking into this place, then some other reasons may also be there why we need trajectory transfer. Right in the beginning, we are not able to put it into the orbit. There may be some other reasons also. So we are going to look into those reasons, and finally then we will start looking into the trajectory transfer problem. Now, trajectory transfer is done using short impulses. We have short impulses. It has overlapped with using short impulses. Short impulses, what does it mean? It implies that we apply a small amount of thrust for whatever, it may be a small or large, for a very short duration. And that can be done by firing the rocket motor. So in fact, the rocket motor, it will fire for certain few seconds, but if the period is small, so then you can assume that this is an impulse. So that the initial problem solving, it becomes easy. And once the planning has been done, so later on the exact numerical simulation can be carried out, and then it can be observed what is happening to the satellite. So just we look into the thrust equation first. It's basically the rocket equation. V is the velocity of the rocket in the inertial frame. V is the exhaust velocity. Okay, this is always taken with respect to the rocket, and say VA is the actual velocity or the absolute velocity of the exhaust. So a delta M mass or delta W is separated from this. Like this mass is M. So using the Newton's third law, we can write this conservation of linear momentum. So M minus dW, dW is a positive quantity here. Means V plus, or either we can write like this, V plus delta V, the increase in velocity here along this direction, times C cap. V plus delta V times E cap, which is showing that the velocity is along this direction. Plus dW, this projected mass, we can take it, and then this is being thrown with velocity V absolute in the opposite direction. So that means we can write it as minus VA times V cap. And this is the initial linear momentum. We can solve it mv plus m delta v. E we can eliminate from this place. This is a second order term. This quantity is 0. Okay, now we can see that V absolute is nothing but magnitude wise V minus V. V absolute. If this is moving with certain velocity, which is we are writing as V, okay, and then something is ejected with respect to this with velocity V in the opposite direction, so the absolute velocity of this will be reduced. So V absolute becomes V minus T. That means we are taking with respect to this difference. V is always taken with respect to the rocket. So we can replace this VA here, and delta V we can write in terms of dV rather, instead of writing here delta V. M dV minus dW V minus dW VA. So VA V minus V. Okay, so just wait for a few minutes. Ink is over. Now m0 minus dW by dt times t, this quantity is nothing but your mass at any time, where W is a positive quantity. So therefore from this place we can observe that dm by dt is nothing but minus dW by dt. So that means delta m or dm is related to dw by this expression. We can replace here, we write this as dw equal to minus dm and so mdv equal to d times dm. This is your rocket equation. Of course, the ambient pressure and other things, they can be taken into account, but we are not taking for the particular purpose, because if you look into the space, so there is no atmosphere present there, so this equation remains valid. And this can be integrated to build the desired result. M times dv equal to v. We'll keep it maybe on the right hand side. We'll keep it. This is v. M times what is here dm by m with minus sign is equal to m multiplied by v, which multiplies with itself equal to v. And integrate it. V0 to v. We'll make it 1. And here we'll make it m0 to m1. This becomes delta V.
Sir, sir, that integration is not visible. Only the limits are visible. As in, yes, yes. There, m0 to m, like only m0 and m1 are visible. The integration is not, and the expression is not visible. Only the limit is visible.
I don't know what I think. Okay, I will rewrite it again. M dv equal to minus v times dm. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have v dm by m with minus sign here. Now the integration sign is visible.
Yes, sir.
Now delta v equal to v times the initial mass is more than the final mass, and therefore you get your delta v, which is positive. So if you plan your satellite like say for 10 years, and in 10 years how much perturbation will take to the orbit, perturbation is calculated. You put any satellite in the orbit, say even in the geostationary orbit, so there the gravitational perturbation will occur because of the higher harmonics of the gravitational term. Then you will have the radiation pressure from the sun. So these two things are prominent there. If it is in the low orbit, then you will have the 300 kilometers orbit, 400 kilometers orbit. Then the aerodynamic drag will be there. Okay, besides, the magnetic moment will be there. Magnetic moment, it produces torque, but it does not. Magnetic moment means the inside the satellite some current is flowing. And once it interacts with the Earth's magnetic field, then it produces the magnetic moment. So that will create a torque. It will rotate the satellite, but not it will not perturb it. So that goes on the other side, but here aerodynamic torque is a prominent one. Solar radiation effect, it gets reduced at this level. Then you will have the gravitational term, it will be very strong because you are near to the Earth. We are 42,000 kilometers from the center of Earth and say some 7,000 kilometers from the center of the Earth. So these two distances, the gravitational force becomes very high. But certainly at higher altitude, the radiation pressure is very important, while at lower one, it's of lesser importance. So how much orbit perturbation will take over a period of time? So that can be computed using various equations which have been developed by different researchers over a period of maybe last 400 years. Now once those things are calculated, so you need to give some periodic correction to the orbit to put it in the same place, in the same orbit. Okay, so that it remains overhead. The basic purpose is communicating for the communication satellite is that you always receive the signal. EVA station is there, so it's a transmitting here, and from here then it will be sent back to different stations. So in this range. So this is the maximum range of communication, and it depends on the altitude. So from the geostationary orbit, the satellite will be able to communicate. If it deviates from the angle of inclination, I is the inclination shape with the equatorial orbit, it to be exactly in the equatorial orbit, so you need I to be I. So if it deviates from there, so I need to put it back again. So putting it back again, it requires then the trajectory transfer. So in say when this tolerance, say you have India somewhere, this is the line of equator and India is somewhere here. So the southernmost point and here the northernmost point. So whether the northernmost point is getting covered. If it deviates from this position, say the orbit becomes elliptical for certain reason. So if it deviates, it goes on the back. So communication here in this place will be over. Because no longer, if you are here, so the tangential from here you will take and tangential from this place you will take. And this is the range which can be covered. So the far point will not be covered. So therefore, the orbit correction becomes mandatory. So over a period of time, how much the error will accumulate and periodic correction will be given. Say in 1 month or say or in 6 months, some error has accumulated which is tolerable. But beyond that, it's not tolerable. So at that time, then you will give orbit correction. So by giving orbit correction, you will require how much propellant is desirable for that. So delta V is given to you for various times. So from here you can calculate how much propellant is required. Okay. The final mass, when the propellant mass M1 just becomes equal to 0, so that means the things are over. Okay, you cannot do any correction thereafter. So till this final mass is not 0, till then we are doing the correction and delta V1, delta V2 and like this can be given. And all of them can be added to give how much mass of the propellant is required. So once the satellite is launched in the orbit, so at that time already you have seen that orbit correction is required. So here in the case of the geostationary satellite, first you are launching, say, let us say we are on the equator itself, and from here the satellite has been launched in certain orbit. So it will be launched around 250 kilometers orbit. It will be injected. So this orbit, this will be highly elliptical. This will go like this. And this is called the GTO, Geosynchronous Transfer Orbit, or Geostationary Transfer Orbit. So that means you have not reached to the geostationary level. your geostationary level may be somewhere in this point. Suppose it is lying here in this place, while your satellite has reached up to this point. And for being in geostationary orbit, this distance has to be increased, and this distance also needs to be increased. So we need to give impulses at the perigee and the apogee to correct it. Moreover, some other issues are there. Just as the satellite, once the satellite is launched in the orbit, so at that time, it's in the Earth environment. It's some 250 kilometers. This is your Earth, and 250 kilometers, say it looks like this. And the other part, it's looking like this. So while it passes in this Earth environment, this distance is less. So here the atmospheric density will be something. The drag will be more here in this case. And therefore, over a period of time, your orbit will start decaying. Means the semi-major will start decreasing. So this orbit will start decreasing in altitude. While it goes from this place to this place, it has come to this place. While it goes here, again the drag is there, and this drag will make it reduce. So the orbit will also shrink here in this place. So slowly it will go into the denser orbit, denser atmosphere, and thereafter it will burn out. So the first immediate requirement is that once the satellite has been launched, the perigee is raised. This point is raised. So for raising this point, we give, say it was here, the apogee point. So impulse is given here in this point by delta V. So if you give this impulse, this point will be raised. So orbit will start from here and it will go somewhere here. So this way you will start raising the orbit. Now once it goes here, again you can give impulse here in this point so that this point goes up. So this will move away from this place, and this will go all the way from here to here. Again give an impulse here. So similarly you can keep raising the orbit on both the sides, and simultaneously the orbit determination is done. Orbit determination. To know what are the values of AEI, small omega, capital omega, and theta. So it's a continuously monitored. So it's an iterative job. In one shot it cannot be done. But after few iterations, the orbit of the satellite, it will be perfectly circular. If not perfectly circular, almost circular. So that even if there is certain difference, the satellite, suppose it's India, over the India it's getting located. The transponder is on board, and even if there is a small deviation on the east and the west, or either north and the south, it will be able to communicate over this. So geostationary satellites are used for communication purpose, and this we call as the INSAT, Indian National Satellite. So earlier this INSAT series, they were meant for communication purpose, while your the other what we call as the Cartosat, the cartography development. That means developing the profile of the Earth. So this satellite will be launched in the polar orbit. This is in the equatorial orbit, while this will be in the polar orbit, or maybe in the sun synchronous orbit, so that it keeps receiving the energy from the sun all the time. At high altitude, it's not a problem, but at low altitude, such as 700 kilometers, 600 kilometers, so you will have the satellite gets eclipsed in the shadow of the Earth. But at higher altitude, this problem is lesser. So therefore, once we know this equation, how much delta V is there? Delta V equal to V times ln n0 divided by m1. So using this, we can compute how much propellant is required. First injecting in the orbit, so this is injected in the orbit here in this place. Then the orbit has to be raised on this side and this side also for the geostationary satellite. Inclination has to be changed. The inclination change can be done on a lateral stage. The first job is to change the perigee point of the orbit, because if we do not do, then the satellite will burn out after a certain time. And you remember that India launched a rocket to destroy a satellite, and this was done purposefully in the 300 kilometers orbit. So before the rocket launch, the satellite was put in the 300 kilometers orbit, and just after a few days, then the rocket was launched and the satellite was destroyed. So many fragments were created. So this fragment, it decayed, because it was a on lower altitude, so it decayed over a period of time. It entered the thick atmosphere and then burnt out. So those debris were cleared. While in the case of the China, once it did the test, it did it on a higher altitude. So debris got spread throughout the orbit, and it will not decay if you are at higher altitude. So India did it at a lower altitude so that nobody raises objection that you are destroying the space. In this matter, India is very responsible and very ethical. Okay, so we have discussed about what are the issues in the satellite trajectory transfer, and we can list down some of them, the problems there and how they are categorized. The first trajectory transfer on a wider scale, it was done on January 2, 1959 for the Luna mission. Luna comes from the lunar, so this was the Soviet satellite, and the American satellites are the Apollo series. So at that time, a lot of competition was there, and so both these countries were launching satellites one after another every 6 months. So trajectory transfer was done earlier also, because once you are putting the satellite in the orbit, so obviously there's some kind of trajectory transfer will be involved, but on a wider scale it was done for the lunar mission. So the Luna 1, it missed the moon, by 6,000 kilometers. Then again on September 12, 1959, so you can see this is in January, and then again September 12. So why it is skipped? Because once you are launching the satellite and you are making it escape the gravitational field of the Earth, you are sending it in the hyperbolic orbit. So if that velocity, while it reaches near the moon, it happens to be larger, that means it is equivalent to the hyperbolic velocity for the moon also. Let's say here in this case, we have the Earth here and here is the moon. So you are launching a satellite like this. So once it is reaching near the moon, so at the smallest distance from the moon, if this velocity is equivalent to hyperbolic velocity, it will escape. So this is exactly what happened here in this case. So the distance reached by distance was somewhere 6,000 kilometers. It was away from the moon. It needs to be captured. And if you do not capture, it will go in the hyperbolic orbit, it will travel somewhere else. And you know the hyperbolic orbit is open orbit, so it will go in the open space and cannot be brought back. So it's necessary that while it is reaching this smallest distance, so at that time you give a thrust in the opposite direction so that the velocity here reduces and it becomes equivalent to elliptical orbit for the moon. Okay, and then it will go in the elliptical orbit around the moon. So instead of hyperbolic orbit, this becomes elliptical orbit, and thereafter this can be slowly degraded and it can be brought to somewhere the 100 kilometers orbit, as it happened in the case of Chandrayaan-1. But Chandrayaan-1 it failed because of some sensor problems. After a few months, because of the temperature we have not taken care of, proper safety was not there. So some of the sensors failed due to the heat. And once the sensor failed, then the satellite was out of control. So then the satellite orbit was raised from 100 kilometers to 200 kilometers, and then it was left over. And then some data were collected. So ultimately what happens in the case of the lunar satellite, the degradation is very fast. This orbit, it decays, and finally this will decay and go and hit the surface of the moon. Even though its atmosphere is not there, but because of the perturbation from the gravitation of the moon, this happens. So all this can be studied, and it's it's a part of an advanced space flight mechanics course. But everything can be planned nicely. Okay, so you understand the delicacy here, that you have to do it during a short period of time. And in the case of once the Chandrayaan was carried out, it was just 2 minutes window. If you are not able to control within that period, then your satellite is lost. So this is very crucial thing. And you must know the orbit, where it is, what is the distance from the moon, and all those issues should be sorted out. So continuous monitoring is done for that particular part. So once the satellite Luna was launched on September 12, 1959, so this crashed into the moon. It was captured in the orbit, but finally it crashed into the moon. And there are many craters on the moon, as you know. So why did it crash? Because say here in the case of your Chandrayaan-2, the Chandrayaan-2 also crashed. Because your retro rocket technology, this is not mature. So somewhere the controls you are providing, this is not good. The rocket, the satellite you are bringing it down, the retro rocket has to be fired so that the satellite is coming down, and then this should be slowly brought to the surface of the moon. So any imbalance in the thrust of the retro rocket, it can tilt it, okay, and it can go out of control. So these are the few very crucial issues, and if you see the most complicated technology, if you look for the aircraft and the spacecraft, these two things, they happen to be the most complicated one, not in terms of the electronics and other things, but in terms of the control. Aircraft design, again, there the aerodynamics, many other things are involved, but control is very crucial here. Similarly, in the satellite, the control is very crucial. You are firing the rocket, you have to control the rocket. So you see once you are standing on your legs, so the control technology is going on. Your brain is continuously controlling it. If somebody gets unconscious, he will fall down immediately. So it's a two-leg system. Once you are standing on the two legs, it's not a stable system. You cannot stand on your own. So the brain is continuously monitoring and keeping the center of gravity in between the legs so that you remain erect. Okay, so once Soviet Union did these launches of Luna, thereafter the Apollo mission of America started. So there was a race because America did not want to lag behind. So perhaps Apollo 8 mission, this was the model which landed first on the moon, and thereafter there have been a total of, if I remember correctly, a total of 6 landings were there on the moon. Though you will see, if you search the internet, you will see some controversy that America never sent any satellite to the moon. It just it was a fake thing, not a simulated thing. But as a space engineer, we understand that there is no problem in this if you have proper control and propulsion technology. And of course, you need also the sensor things, measurement of the angles, position, and so many things are involved. Inertial navigation system. But this is possible. Now the satellite is, nowadays the things are very open. One cannot fake. Once you are launching the satellite, then the various countries, they are recording the data. They have the radar and they will track it, what you are doing. Have you launched a missile on that country, or it's a satellite meant for satellite? So everybody is monitoring. So there is nothing fake nowadays. And earlier also it was not a fake thing, but the controversies are there because of many failures that has taken place in the program of the NASA. But after Apollo 8, some mission has also crashed and it was a disaster. The astronauts died on board. In the Mars mission, the same thing is applicable. Here in this case, the Mars is, you have to go for the interplanetary. Here, Moon is satellite of Earth. So this case is, planning is complicated. Okay, mathematically, it gets a little more complicated because the sphere of influence, or what you say, the gravitational influence of the Earth and the Moon, they interfere with each other. While in the case of the planets, the sphere of influence, they are very discrete, they are very separated out. So the planning is not that difficult. But still, say at millions of kilometers away, this is the sun and the Earth is going around this, and then the Mars is here. So in some orbit, you have to capture it. Mars is going here. You are launching a satellite, and it has to be captured somewhere here in this place. Okay, so we will come across all those things as we progress. So I will stop here today. So I have given you a background. What are the things going for the satellite launching? Why we do it? Why the trajectory transfer is required? And for this portion, you can refer to the book by Valado. So some more mathematical treatment you will get here, just like the continuous orbit transfer, which I am not going to deal with. So now please respond to your attendance. Shivam, Radha, Vivek, Parth,
Present, sir.
Hariharan,
Present, sir.
Giri, Saurya,
Present, sir.
Ashish,
Present, sir.
Nishay,
Present, sir.
Ashutosh,
Present, sir.
Pawan,
Present, sir.
Aditya.
Present, sir.
Okay, thank you.